got back here from Greece, and while I was in Thessaloniki, which is the second largest city there next to Athens, I gave a presentation at a small version, a miniature Colosseum type setting. And at the end of the event, a group of people carried up this child. This boy was 5 years old. He had leg braces on and was unable to stand on his own. If you could get him to be in a standing position, his toes could touch the ground, but his heels couldn't. So he was scheduled for surgery for that. He'd had to hold on to furniture or, an adult's clothing or something to be able to stand at all. In order for him to go up or downstairs, he'd have to sit to go down or crawl to go up. His arms were held in that sort of classic palsy fashion where the forearms are parallel to the ground and the wrists hang loosely, and you couldn't understand his speech. His mother would have to interpret to the family what she thought he was most likely saying. So, which of course, I'm sure is very frustrating to a child who's, trying to communicate.
Sure.
But anyway, they brought him up and they said, could you do a session? And I was already halfway off the stage to do a book signing. I said, well, if you just wait until I finish this book signing, let's see what we can do. So I finished the signing. We went back into the Coliseum, and they took off his braces and placed them on the massage table that I'd been using on the stage. And I began to talk through an interpreter to his parents while I was working with the boy. And it turned out the parents didn't even, believe in the work and didn't really necessarily know that they wanted him to be there, but the friends all pushed for it. And so we were talking for all of 4 minutes when all of a sudden the people at the Coliseum working it said that we had to leave because they had to close. So I wasn't planning on just working for 4 minutes, but, we had to go. So some of the friends took the child off the table, and I was talking to the parents for a moment through a translator, and all of a sudden I saw their heads turn and jerk and look way up high. So I followed to see what they were looking at, and there was little 5-year-old Demetrius. He had somehow gotten off of the steps of the stage and ascended the entire height of the location.
Jeez.
Of the miniature Colosseum by himself. He was standing at the top with his arms out to the side, almost as if he could fly, and big brown chocolate marble eyes and a smile that was so big I thought the corners of his mouth were touching each of his ears. And the parents started to walk over to the steps quickly with their mouths open as he came down, and he could see that they were about to reach for him, and he went, no, I'm going to do it again. And he turned around and ran back up and down. Well, needless to say, the mother team decided to fly to Athens that weekend to take the seminar. But the funny thing was, I said to her, why don't you bring Demetrius down on Friday night and you can share the story with the others? And she said the oddest thing to me. She said, no, I don't want parents to get up false hope. I didn't really understand that because she just
what did she
witnessed.
mean?
Right. She and her husband just witnessed it.
Something incredible, yeah.
But, you don't want to argue with a mother. I said, fine. So she came down to take the seminar, the basic weekend, and she learned the work, and she decided she wanted to take another little specialized weekend that we were giving the following weekend, which, I told her wasn't necessary, but she wanted to. I said, fine. Well, in the middle of the week, she called and said, can I bring Demetrius down? I said, well, of course you can, wondering why she wanted to do it then.
I wanted him down the first time.
Right, I did. Because I really wanted everyone to see this. But she brought him down, and a group of their friends carried him up. Brought him up to my room. He looked up at me and said, look what I can do. I can run.
Now.
And he ran down the hallway, and he ran back. Of course, this is all through a translator.
Oh, okay.
And then he said, now look what else I can do. I can stand on one leg and spin. And he did. Then he said, I can open my right hand. Well, what I didn't realize was all of his life he was completely unable to open his right hand or use it. And he said, I can hold my own cup of water. And then, suddenly, I realized he was speaking. He was speaking perfectly clearly, and everyone except me, because it was in Greek, could understand him. 4
an
minutes.
amazing story.
4 minutes. But I'll tell you what's more interesting, or not more interesting, but fascinating, too, was the film people decided that they wanted to fly out and interview him. So they contacted the parents through the publisher who could speak English and made an arrangement. They were going to fly out, and I was also. And then a little while later, the father calls and said, no, they won't do it. He doesn't want them to do it. So there's further communication. The father agrees a few weeks later, and then the father cancels again. And this goes on and on and on and on for months. Finally, the film is going way past its deadline, and they think they're going to have to cancel it when the mother, I guess, finally gets the father to agree. So we all fly out to Thessaloniki to do the filming. And the father leaves when the film crew arrives, and will not come back until after they leave. He just was angry. He didn't want it to happen. He didn't want it to happen, yeah. So anyway, they do the filming, and then about another 3 or 4 months go by, and it's time for the presentation in London. This was March 13th, I think, in London this year. So I figure it would only be nice to offer to fly the family out so they could be present at the filming.
Sure.
I'm thinking the mother and the son will come. Well, the father agrees, so they're all going to come. And I thought, well, that's interesting. There we go. We'll see them there. And I show up, and I'm introduced to them again. Maybe 30 minutes before the screening's about to begin. And the father looks at me and says, I did not want Demetrius to be in this film. And I'm thinking, yeah, right, like you got to tell me that.
Yeah,
well, exactly. I didn't say it that way. He said, and the reason I didn't want him to be in the film was because I didn't want to believe that he had the healing. Now he's got my attention.
Yeah.
He said, because if I believed that he had the healing, then I would have to live with the fear that it could leave at any minute and go through the same pain that we went through as a family originally.
That's
and I just couldn't do that. But it's been a year now, he said. It's been a year. And the healing happened. And Demetrius, he walks beautifully. He still runs a little funny. He said, but that's because he's only 5. And he didn't get to run when all of his friends were running. And so he runs all the time.
He's off balance a little bit.
Yeah, just a little. He said, but he runs all the time because he didn't get to run when his friends are running. And, but now I have to accept that it's real. And suddenly it became clear to me what the mother meant when she said that that she didn't want parents to get up false hope. Sometimes when you want something so much, and it's so valuable, and it's so important, and when it appears, we're afraid to allow ourselves to fully see it and accept it.
That's true. That is so true.
But this has appeared so clearly and so consistently. This is just one of the many, many, many cerebral palsy children or epilepsy children whose entire lives and the lives of their family have been changed through just minutes, through reconnective healing, not just through me, but through any of the people that we've trained to do this. And so why is medicine coming around? Because medicine is suddenly seeing something that it wasn't able to see through the energy healing techniques that we've had or we have today. They're seeing something different. And after a while of being faced with consistency and reality, most people really are willing to move up. And
Absolutely.
That's what's happening.
They might not understand how yet or why, but they're at least sounds like they're willing to learn, Eric.
Right. I don't understand how or why. And you know what? Thank God it didn't stop me.
Absolutely. We'll be back with you in just a moment. We'll just take this 1 second. TheReconnection.com is Dr. Eric Pearl's website. And it's just a remarkable story of a remarkable individual in the work that he has done. And we'll be back and find out a little bit more about how these things happened. And we don't know why, do we? And we're with Dr. Eric Pearl, his work, The Reconnection, Heal Others, Heal Yourself. And we'll be back with Eric in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast to Coast. I'm George Norrie. We're with Dr. Eric Pearl. He's live in Tel Aviv. Eric, I know when you were a chiropractor,